My father, grandfather, uncles were all pit crewmen. They were race drivers in NASCAR. My grandfather is Walter Ballard. He has a really famous crash in '71.
And we've got trouble on turn number 4. Car number 30 is upside down. That's Walter Ballard's car. Buddy Baker also involved. Ballard's car coming to rest right side up. We hope he's okay. Walter Ballard, Texas.
I remember freeze framing clips of the crash and sketching out the car as it was tumbling, and then trying to turn that into abstract shapes. So it's kind of literally abstracting my childhood. The objects, for me, are the most successful when there's not an immediate point of reference for them. As an artist, I've always loved going in, seeing work that I'm like, what am I looking at? How is it made? You know, how did it come to be? And so the more I can pare back the layers of whether it's historical references, pop cultural references, and for me, even in terms of materiality, I like to think in a way I'm working in a very antiquated notion of making, because I'm working with two materials and only two materials for years. I always start the same way, and that's with the woven cane. Once I have that, I take the epoxy clay, I knead that together, and then I coil it, just like you would ceramics. And then I just laminate it in rows using the grid to create my design. The ambiguity of the work is also ambiguous in the material, even though it's only one. So it speaks a lot to how can one material speak so loud but also be ambiguous. That's very exciting for me to think about. I think the conversation is more interesting, and the life of the work is more interesting when a viewer can tease out aspects, features, references of the work over time, and they kind of just unravel. I had a show called Visitor in the Lower East Side at a gallery called Mackenzie Fine Art. It's actually the first show that I've combined the perforator pieces, the open pieces, with the closed vessels, the dappled dunes. I think in a way, sculpture, kind of a self-portrait for the artist, whether you like it or not, especially in terms of making very biomorphic, abstract forms, organic forms. The object has a lot to be interpreted, but for me to make it, I have to be really attached to it. You know, sometimes they take months and years to make. So I pull a lot from my life, my history. I mean, a lot can happen in a year of making something, and along the way, those things really do impact the direction the work goes. How do you create something in the moment that is not completely dependent on the context and the history of which it was made, but could be plucked into multiple contexts and still have as much meaning? That's really hard, you know, and that's more interesting.